we need to talk about the new Weezer album, Van Weezer. This is my favorite Weezer album for 15 years. If you're like me, you're around 30 years old, chances are you probably got into Weezer around the time of their Green album or maybe the Make Believe album. This period from 2001 to 2006, I would argue, is probably their most commercially successful period. They had songs on lots of movie soundtracks, they were getting a lot of radio play, they were featured on huge tours, they still are obviously, but maybe you got into them because of these albums, these really commercially successful albums, and then discovered their incredible back catalogue. The Blue album, which was rock and roll sort of mixed with garage rock. You know, you got Say It Ain't So, My Name is Jonas, No One Else, Buddy Holly. Just at least 3 of those songs right there are some of my all-time favourite Weezer songs. Then Pinkerton, Tired of Sex. That's such a tune. That's the first song that I ever learned to play on bass guitar, believe it or not. Or maybe it was Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus. No, I'm pretty sure it was this. Get You, that's a really good song. Why Bother? El Scorcho, and I think probably my all-time favorite Weezer song, Pink Triangle. Pinkerton, I think probably is my #1 album from them. And then the Green album came out about 5 years later, I think it was 2001. The opening song, Don't Let Go, is such a commercial hit, followed by Photograph. This is when they really found that sound which appealed to the masses. That radio rock and roll combined with pop rock and just real catchy hooks. Maladroit was pretty good. Make Believe I absolutely love, but I actually prefer the more experimental songs on that album, such as Peace and Hold Me. And then we've got the Red album, and this is the last album that I really liked by Weezer before I almost went on a Weezer hiatus. I stopped paying attention. I wasn't that into it, not because I didn't like the music, I still listened to that old stuff. I just felt like there was a problem of the quantity was high, but the quality was low. A lot of the albums which came out, the Black Album, Hurley, Raditude, these almost felt like copied and pasted versions of the earlier albums, the 2001 to the 2006. This band now have 15 albums, but since the Red album, which had incredible songs and real experimental songs as well, such as The Greatest Man That Ever Lived, which again, another one of my favorites because it's a long song, it changes tempo, and of course Pork and Beans, their usual commercial friendly, happy-go-lucky hit. Everything after that album started to feel very samey. It just felt like it was quantity over quality. And releasing singles is one thing. Recording songs and putting them on YouTube and Spotify, again, that's one thing. But creating an LP, creating an album, or even an EP of 5 or 6 songs, that's more of a work of art. And it's not good to have maybe 1 or 2 bangers on an album, and then just have like 8 songs of, this sounds like it's copied and pasted from their old albums. It sounds the exact same as what they were doing before. There's nothing new, there's nothing exciting. All of the earlier albums had something unique. Like I mentioned, the Blue album was different to Pinkerton. Pinkerton was different to the Green album. The Green album was different to Make Believe. Make Believe was different to the Red album. And then it just went, almost took a back step, and the next 13 years were just, I tried listening to Everything Will Be Alright in the end. I tried listening to Pacific Daydream. The Teal album was a covers album, and even then, like, covers albums are usually fun. Look at Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, but the Teal album, none of the covers were like as good as the original version. If you're gonna do a covers album, again, it's gotta have these new cool versions of the songs, adding something new to the mix. I haven't really given OK Human a chance, and honestly, I only gave Van Weezer, what we're talking about today, a chance because my friend convinced me to. I tried back in 2020 re-listening to some of the albums such as Raditude and Hurley and the White album, but again, I just got 2 tracks in and just couldn't get into it. But Van Weezer, we are finally here. This is what we've been expecting. This is what I've been waiting for. This is originality. It has really good songwritings. It has that pop rocky sound mixed with regular rock and roll that we love from Weezer. But it's also got slower songs and some creativity to it. The reviews generally from this album are actually better than some of the previous efforts, which is a good sign, and I completely agree with them. I would say that the one fault I have is what steals the album for me is definitely the first 4 opening tracks. It sort of goes 4 amazing, awesome, upbeat, fun, cool tracks, which don't sound too similar to the old Weezer stuff. And this is why we love Weezer, for their originality. No one song back 20 years ago sounded the same. Since then it's become a bit more formulaic, but those 4 opening songs, The End of the Game, Hero, Beginning of the End, I Need Some of That, Those are real, just great, upbeat, happy songs. They're fun. The End of the Game has a real fantastic opening riff, and obviously this is where the inspiration for Van Weezer came from. They dedicated this album to Eddie Van Halen, who obviously passed a few months ago. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be some sort of cheesy rip-off of Van Halen album. I didn't know if it was going to be some Van Halen covers album. I honestly had no idea going into listening to this. I thought maybe they were going to put in lots of keyboards and lots of shredding. Perhaps they were going to do that sort of that sort of pick and then chug chug that Eddie Van Halen used to do. That only takes up a small percentage of this album. I can see where the inspiration comes from. Ozzy Osbourne and Randy Rhoads. In fact, they're actually credited as writers on this song. Most likely due to how extremely similar the riff is. It doesn't sound exactly the same as Crazy Train, but basically just borrowing the riff, taking the riff and using it and incorporating it into a different song. So after those first 4 opening tracks, especially the End of the Game, I absolutely love that, and also I need some of that. It starts to go back into that formulaic Weezer sound with songs like She Needs Me, Sheila Can I Do It, and One More Hit. These are fun, they're easy, they're simple, and that's just not what I like. I don't like it when Weezer does that, okay? And I'm sure a lot of you agree. I don't like it when they produce maybe like 1 or 2 commercial hits, like Pork and Beans, that's a simple but fun song. Beverly Hills, that's a simple but fun song. But those 2 songs, they don't sound similar. Whereas, Hey Girl, if you're wondering if I Want You To, that song, and Memories, those have that definite sort of generic boom, ta, boom, ta. I think they're so much more effective and so much more exciting when they make each song unique. Get You sounds different to Why Bother. Why Bother sounds different to Say It Ain't So. Say It Ain't So sounds different to Pink Triangle. Pink Triangle sounds different to Slob. Slob sounds different to Keep Fishing. Keep Fishing sounds different. I could go here all day. The first opening tracks, they're good, and then a bit boring, nothing new here, nothing exciting, just sounds like I'm listening to a copied and pasted version of their old songs. Lazy lyrics, simple 4-chord progression. But then Precious Metal Girl, the finishing track, I really enjoyed that. Again, that was unique, it was slow, it was really stripped back. Just some nice guitar work on that song as well. Yeah, it sounds really good. But all in all, this has so much more to offer than their other albums. And you know what? I can listen to Blue Album from start to finish. I can listen to Pinkerton from start to finish. I can listen to Green Album from start to finish. And then Red Album, which again, no one ever mentions it. They never play songs from it live on their live set lists, which we all get into. And then after that, it just, there was nothing big and exciting. And it seemed like their commercial success sort of tipped off a bit here. But recently, OK Human and now this being released, which are completely different formulas. I mean, OK Human is like an orchestral album, right? And then this is more of a guitar-heavy album. It's not so guitar-heavy that it feels like a Van Halen ripoff or a classic rock ripoff. I went into it expecting, oh, are they going to try and do some sort of Aerosmith, Van Halen, or are they going to do like hard rock, pure hard rock, like 80s hard rock? Or are they going to do sort of even early 90s era Van Halen with lots of keyboards, right? But actually, it was unique. It was almost like a unique Weezer spin of an album with a few generic songs in there, but then added guitar work, which just sounded really good, and the production's really good too. And I'll say this one last thing, that Weezer really know how to put together a good live set list. I really do not like when you go and see a band and they play like 18 songs off the new albums or the newer albums and then 2 or 3 old songs, okay? People don't go to see Blink-182 to watch them play the California album. People don't go and see Kiss to hear them play the Sonic Boom album. I've been to see bands such as Of Mice and Men before where they've played literally like 90% of their set list is the new album or the 2 newest albums before. And the old songs such as OG Loco and Let Live, they don't even get played at all. They don't even acknowledge they exist. Weezer, even though they do have 15 albums, plus EPs, plus singles, always have a good mix. You always get a mix of the Blue album and the Pinkerton album, the Green album. You get the commercially successful songs and then they'll throw in one which people don't really listen to as much or isn't as well known, such as Get You. That's a really good one which they play live quite a lot. I really enjoy that about them. I also think one other mistake they made was they released the best song from this album and the lead single from this album back in September 10th, 2019. Now I understand this had to coincide with their tour with Fall Out Boy, and I understand that that got cancelled due to the pandemic. So this album was supposed to be released before, so it was supposed to be single and an album a few months later, but it's actually been single released, and then over a year and a half later the album finally gets released. But it's nice. That's obviously not their fault, that was to do more with the pandemic. Awesome guys, if you enjoyed this review, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, comment down below what you think and any other bands you'd like to hear me review, or if you want me to do a full video on Weezer breaking down some of their best work and some of their worst work in their entire career, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you soon.